Stunning sounds and hypnotic rhythms that move thousands of people. That's the hallmark of a group called Hang Massive. And today, both of them, TaKeTiNa and Mr. OFFBEAT, is here on my podcast.
Welcome to The Power of Rhythm, a podcast with your host, Reinhard Flatischler, around the one thing that connects us all. Rhythm.
Hey, both. First, congratulations to your 10 years anniversary concert.
Thank you so much.
How was it? Where was it?
It was here in Goa. We're in Goa, India, which is west coast of India. We've been here for the past 1.5 years. As due to Corona, all of our touring was cancelled, and the Indian government has also allowed stranded foreigners, so to speak, to compassionately stay here until kind of more return to normal. So we're lucky to have just been here at home in Goa for the last 1.5 years. And we filmed the concert around just a super nice resort about half an hour from our house.
Yeah. We also live here since almost 16 years now in Goa, on and off when we're not touring and doing music projects and things. So that put it in context that we finally got to be home for 1.5 years straight.
Not a bad place to live. I've been about 30 times in India, all over India.
Wow.
But of course also in Goa. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
we love it.
So my first question is, when I listen to your music, when I look at how you go about, a sentence comes to the mind, which comes, of course, out of Zen, which is doing everything by doing nothing. Everything seems so kind of, flowing. The very first thing that you did, I don't know if it was the first thing. Once again, was this the first thing you did together?
It's the first thing that we released publicly. Yeah.
So that's kind of so simple and yet so focused, so full of presence. So that really drew me in and said, cool, that's really good.
Yeah.
Now, how did Hang come into your life?
So it came into my life first. I was at a juggling festival in Europe, a big juggling convention, and there was a guy there just playing. I saw him one day just playing in the field, and then exactly 1 year later, I was at the same festival again, met the same guy still playing, and then I thought, I'm going to get. And at that time, it was quite easy. You could just go call the people in Switzerland, go there, pick up the instruments. That was way back in 2005, 2006.
Wow. And then when did you both meet?
As we said, we live here in Goa for many, many years.
Yeah.
So for me, I ran into the instrument first in Barcelona very quickly, but I didn't really think too much of it at the time, even though it was a cool thing. And then over the years after that, it started to show up just more and more in my immediate friend circuit. And 1 year, me and Danny started to practice the same meditation teaching, and then we started to hang out together. And that's kind of how we started to spend time together.
Okay.
And it was much later that same year we started to hang out, and we also started to spend time in the UK, where we also started to play in the streets together.
Cool. It just unfolded quite effortless.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And how did it come to the name Hang Massive? How did you find it?
I mean, it's I don't know where the origins of the term, but definitely in England, you can refer to a group of people from a certain place or a group of people with a certain interest, like London Massive or Birmingham Massive, meaning like a group of people that come from a certain place. So Hang Massive would be like a group of people revolving around the hang, and just was obviously the right name for us from the beginning.
Right. So when you play, it's quite obviously that I just watched the video before we went online now from you. from the Goa Garden. And what came to my mind is make the move for the move. It doesn't seem like you do something because of, you're just making the move for the move, which is beautiful, because of the joy of the move. Can you explain to someone who probably has never experienced groove, how is groove? How would you explain someone groove?
Groove.
And being together in the groove.
Yeah.
Well, I think for myself is that like the main reason I feel that we work the way we work and how we share the music is due to our meditation practice. Mm-hmm. And I feel that the aspect of meditation comes very much in when we speak about what is a groove. Mm-hmm. And I feel that when a person embodies meditation in whatever form that looks and however one reached that point, that's when a groove is naturally settled in. So whatever we do on top of that basic awareness and basic recognition becomes a groove, regardless if we are speaking about music or painting, but now we are speaking about, I guess, rhythms. So that would be like my explanation of groove. And we both are very dedicated practitioners, and that is what shines through what we do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything from you, Danny? Like the groove?
I would say that's like the perfect answer. Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of like, the groove of the inspiration, I guess, of some of our music, we both were many, many years in different electronic music scenes, like more very upbeat, psychedelic trance kind of scene. Here in Goa, there's like a big techno scene. So, we are we love a lot of different styles of electronic music, and the grooves in a more conventional sense from those kind of genres definitely influence what we do. And also, as you said earlier, the simplicity of things is very important. And once again, it's such a simple thing, but it takes elements from many simple types of music that has the groove, and that's enough to carry it through. And then the simplicity is actually a great thing.
And what you just brought in, the meditation, it's so crucial point at this time. People are so much turned outwards and angry and confused and this and that. And now it's the time, and I think a lot of people wake up to this, that it's time to turn inwards and kind of, find that calm place that makes everything different. And that is what I also heard already in this first, once again, and I want to play a little bit for our listeners how that's, okay?
Enjoy.
once again.
Yeah.
Hank Massive, Danny Cut,
that's a groovy tune right there.
And Markus Offbeat. Now, actually, it's a simple groove, and you know what? What makes it so difficult to play a simple groove? It immediately shows if you're fully present, because you can't hide anything. If you do a lot of complex stuff, you can cheat with it, but with a simple thing, the only thing that transports it is your presence. And I feel that very much in your playing. So wonderful for that. Now, you both are Dzogchen practice. Is this the right way I pronounce it?
Exactly that, yeah.
Dzogchen.
Dzogchen. And how did you come to practice? And how did you find Candice Rinpoche? And what did it bring into your life?
Oh, great question. Well, for me, I ended up one time due to an ex-girlfriend of mine in one of the open meetings with the organization that Candice Rinpoche have set up for her practice. And hated it completely. Didn't like anything about it. Thought it was just nothing for me. And left from that meeting with a meditation instruction that I could not stop to fall back on. I just and I experienced a lot of I was not really into it, even though it worked for me, because I had many ideas of what spirituality was. So I had an interesting year with that kind of just that instruction coming to me all the time when I had a hard time, and actually supporting me greatly. So a year later, I came back to Goa and fell into one of these open meetings or satsangs again. And then it was just clear to me that the practice that I've been offered and took on had worked phenomenal, more than any practice that I have ever been a part of prior to that. And to that, I have tried a lot of weird fucking things in my life. So for me, it was very natural. I didn't like it, but yet I saw that it was working to 100% what I always looked for. And so I just continued to show up to the practice and still do to this day. And it's getting better and better.
Is it possible to say, to describe a short practice of what you're doing? Is it sitting still? Is it doing something with the breathing? Or what is it?
So I would, due to that, I am not a certified Balanced View trainer or a Dzogchen teacher whatsoever. So to that question, I will actually say it's much better that people go and receive those instructions from the teacher itself, because that's what worked for me. People have been speaking about teachings for centuries, and it never really worked for me, because you need to hear it from a certified teacher. This is how teachings works, no? So I would advise, that would be my suggestion for everyone, to go and check her out, listen to some talks on YouTube. Open Intelligence and Love is the YouTube channel, and basically have their own experience, because that's what kicked my ass into mode of actually starting to practice. It was that instant moment of recognition that something is actually working this time, and I don't need to do much for that to come about. So that was kind of be my suggestion.
Great, thank you. Now, Danny, from your side, how did you find that?
I mean, we're greatly fortunate in the sense that very close to our house where we live in Goa, there's a small little village, and this village attracts many, many people like an alternative, seeking an alternative lifestyle. So that includes health and food and activities and meditation. There's a big yoga scene here. So was just greatly fortunate that the teaching was happening here, very close to our house. I had a friend who was very involved. She recommended it to me. And just like that, I started going to the meetings and participating in the trainings. And we literally met there. Me and Markus literally kind of met there. We'd met once before, many years before that, but then in this version of the story, then we met there at the training. And it was, again, like Markus, well, actually for me, I was just I just knew that this is the teaching that I personally had been looking for a very long time, and knew from the first moment of participating in one of the meetings that my seeking for well-being in any other location had come to an end. So then for me, that was just a definitive moment, and we've just continued to participate in the ways that we do. We it's a big part of everything that we do. It's how we are able to thrive and flourish in our relationship together, musically, financially, like in all of the aspects that are involved with running a big music. I mean, for sure, for ourselves anyway, we are an independently run music group. We run everything. So there's many things that come up along the way, and having a clear and solid mind is greatly beneficial when it comes to these kind of intimate relationships, as it would be with an intimate partner or any other kind of relationship where you are working, living, traveling, always together. Then without a way to recognize strong mind, then they can be choppy waters.
And I guess we can all see that very well in many, maybe in our immediate friendships group, or also in the bigger picture. Music specifically is groups do not stay friends for a long time. You know, and that aspect, even though that we have gone through endless of obstacles in our time together, none of it would ever been possible without a united factor, as we would say, use the word meditation, and our practice always comes as the binding force, you know, and have since day one, you know, even before we choose to play music together. That's how we connected, and that's why we synced up, you know. And Hang Massive is just immense forthcoming of that connection, basically, and that.
But it clearly shows up in your music, what you just telling our listeners, that this is not just, you know, we're playing a little hung here and so, but it's this whole relationship and engaging in what is life about and following teaching. And well, congratulations. What more can you find? But I found my path. Wow, that's great. Wonderful.
On top of that, be able to share that beautiful aspect of ourselves with as many people as we can through the music.
You have been in Tibet, obviously, because when I look at the images you have, this
video is in one of the videos is in Ladakh, which is in far north of India, and one in Sikkim, which is in the northeast of India. So both on the borders of this area. India, Pakistan, China, Tibet kind of area. But until now, we have not been to Tibet, although I'd like to go. Also Bhutan. Yeah, I'd love to go to this place.
How did you come to the title, The Kissing of the Sun and the Moon?
The secret kissing of the sun and moon.
That track is featured on our last album, which was called Luminous Emptiness. And the album was very much made in collaboration with our meditation teacher. And she named the album, and she named all of the tracks in the album. Yeah.
Prior to the tracks was being made.
Yeah, so we received all the track names in advance, and from contemplating and meditating on those titles came forth the music. So it was a very magical process, and all of those titles are having, you know, some alluring towards parts of our teaching, like metaphors or similes that have way more in them than just the combination of the words.
Yes, and I think our listeners are very curious now to hear how that sounds. So I'll play it, okay? Secret Kissing of the Sun and the Moon, composed by Danny Cudd and MARKUS OFFBEAT, called Hang Massive. You know, this is amazing. It's always the same in your music. There is a demand to calm down, a demand to be present, a demand to engage in the sound. So it's really, it seems like every sound you play, there's a message that you send. Listen, and that's really great.
Okay, it's more of an invitation than a demand.
Yeah.
Yes.
it's like we're standing on the horizon, just like gently wafting people towards us.
Okay, that's good too. Now, have you always played the same instruments, the hung from Switzerland, or have you used other instruments too, like handpans or?
Yeah.
We started, as Danny said, he got started off with the 2 pan outs that we play in the Once Again video. And then very shortly in the same time, I also got 1 pan out. And then we used those for many years, actually. We were not really looking so much. It was just those instruments. And then slowly, we started to also use some other makers. Yeah.
Okay.
Some
now,
really good hand makers out there. So
it's getting a lot of different people now, and Cabezon was on my podcast also. Yeah.
He's beautiful. He's a really good friend of ours.
Oh yeah. So now coming to the point where, what would you tell someone who is a musician and who is not as lucky as you, and who sitting on a great location can kind of, engage in composing, arranging? A lot of desperate people out there. Any advice from your side to these people?
In terms of like their own well-being, or in terms of their career, or like...
No, whatever you want. I mean, basically it all starts with human life, Music is based on that. You cannot just separate it, in my opinion.
I mean, see, I can't really beat around the bush, so to speak. I just there's many things that people can occupy themselves with. People can do whatever it is in terms of activity. As a human species, we have activities from all through our life, But for us, the only thing that set everything in a solid basis, and I mean, we do not come from a super wealthy background. We have always, we have always searched for a better life. This is from both of us. We've always been engaged to see how can we improve our life situation and how can we flourish as human beings, basically. And for me, nothing else happened before I found a meditation practice that worked.
Okay.
So even though I'm very, very privileged to be born in Sweden, if we look at the misery we can see all over the planet, I'm very, very fortunate where I grew up, my parents and everything I've been given. But, regardless of all of that, I also had struggles, and all of those struggles was based in not recognizing the nature of my mind and not being able to rest deeply with my experience. So it doesn't matter where we are, if we're sitting on the golden side of whatever fairy tale that we think is the best, or on the other side of it. For me, without doubt, finding a meditation practice that works and does not have to look in any specific way. It doesn't have to be with a specific teacher. It just needs to be a practice that actually works. And for anyone, I would say that is my heartfelt and deep, passionate message I want to share with everyone, and always do not stop to find that teaching, however that might look. Solid focus.
I just wanted to hear from Danny,
I mean, just nailed it, really. There's nothing, that is, like, basically, it's like, without that, the search for experience never leads to fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. Like we can spend a whole lifetime seeking one experience after another with the belief that that is going to bring us some kind of well-being, and we just do that for an entire lifetime, and that's all. That's great. Like that's the way it is. However, I think to recognize one's fundamental identity beyond all of those activities that we might seemingly strive to achieve, that's where the results come from, actually. The results come from there. They come in a very effortless way. They might not come in the way that I speak for myself or ourselves. They might not come in the way we thought they were going to look. They might not come in the way we might want them to look sometimes. But that's just part of the ride. Yeah, that's part of the ride. And with a practice that greatly settles the mind into this human experience, then anything can be achieved, accomplished, attempted, or not. You might think that all these things you wanted to do were so important, and actually then you realize maybe they weren't. So we've got the cards that we were dealt with, and it's unfolding as we go. We have a great joy in participating in the unfolding of everything, and we see where it goes. Like I knew with our project from the beginning that, because it's funny to even reflect on this, even back in 2010, mainstream artists were not sharing their music on YouTube. It was like people would upload bootlegs or some like copied things, but it was more like at that time, official content was still limited to, I guess, TV, MTV, like, basically, I don't really know where people were consuming that kind of music content. But I saw so clearly before we had the video ready for Once Again. And then I knew that with a bit of insight and with a bit of research, and if we optimized the way that we shared this video, we knew that it had the capacity to spread around the whole world. Like I knew that was very likely to happen from that video, from the project. So that's it. We rolled the dice. We rolled the dice, and we've gone all in, and we've gone all in again and again and again and again. We always just keep putting in all the chips and going all in, and here we are 10 years later, just it's all happening.
Yeah. And to that, I would also like to say, like both me and Danny, we do not have any other professional disposition. Like we do not go and work with different things. We don't have big, massive other projects. You know, our 100% commitment is to Hang Massive and what we can do with this. So, yeah, 24/7 activity.
I think it's the same for you and for me. Serving people is the biggest fulfillment that you can have on this planet. Just that I have created a work called TaKeTiNa, where you engage in rhythm with the body and that thing. And when you see people really with themselves and you're guiding them more and more in this place, that's very fulfilling. Now you have also included in your hang the electronic music. And yet I was listening to it, and I've interviewed on this podcast people from Berghain, like DJs, and that's quite different. It's kind of, there's always a chill, a cool in it. That's quite fascinating. Yeah? It never goes like, it always goes to a place where you're, I can't even describe it. It's, when you go a little bit more like this, it would be boring. If you go a little bit more this, it would be crazy, but you keep the middle ground. That's really amazing. And so
that's been a big part of our journey all along, from very early on, already fusing the acoustic sound of the instrument with electronic production, giving tracks to people to remix them, just because it's another great way to spread the vibe of the music to different audiences, to bring in different elements. Mm-hmm. We love it. It's been a really big part of the whole thing.
And so the electronic music was even before you played hang, right? For both of you.
Yeah, we were both very involved in like the scene, electronic music scene, mm-hmm. going to many festivals and being involved in different ways.
Now, finally, I wanted to play for my listeners a little bit of the Goa Garden, where you use some of the mixture of, electronic beats and the hang, which I find fascinating. So thanking you both so much for your time. And let me actually ask you, what is the plans, the vision when everything opens up now? Musical plans?
Yeah.
World domination.
We'll spend the next, I guess, 4 or 5 months here recording a new album, working on a new live show. We've rescheduled, already twice rescheduled, so everything's been pushed back to next year just because this year still just feels very uncertain. We'll just be working on a new album. We'll probably release some singles and some videos. We'll work on a new live show, staging, visuals, all of that. We're releasing electronic collaboration album, and with an amazing producer, Bleeker from England. It's the second EP or album we've released together with him. And maybe we might do some more online events. There's such a great response to this one, so we might do some more online events in the next couple of months.
Okay, and any plans to come to Europe? Like, I'm in Vienna right here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and just today, because we were supposed to come there in October. But we've been in touch with all the venues there the last week, and nobody's really confident about.
I know.
And because we are running the entire tour operation as well. Like, it's out, we've invested everything into it, and there's already so much like captured within that tour thing, which just keeps getting pushed back and back. We can't risk moving towards another tour, which then gets cancelled closer to the time. It's just too risky. So I think we will be in Europe, in the western part of Europe in March and April, and then the eastern part of Europe will be there in the autumn next year.
Okay, yeah. I just had CUDD on my podcast, also the drummer group from Japan, but it's the same for everyone. You're not alone.
Nobody really knows, and it's all good until it comes to the point of having to invest again more money into something that isn't sure if it's going to happen. It just makes things very difficult to move sometimes. But just to say on that, we feel greatly fortunate that this rest period, the impact that's had on us has been very positive. We've been traveling so much for the last 5 years. So just to be here, just to stay at home, to feel very grounded and rested. For us, it's been great. Obviously, this situation impacts people in very, very different ways. For us, it's been really good to have a break. But when it comes around to next year, we're fully ready to go, and hopefully we'll be able to go. Yeah.
Now, it's the same for me, actually. The podcast wouldn't be there if there would be no COVID. I just, used the time to build that up. I was always going, and now finally, boom, that was a year. I was here in my house creating new stuff.
Fantastic.
Congratulations. Vienna is a beautiful place to be.
It is, yes, but politics get a little weird now, but basically it's a really beautiful place, but politics get crazy everywhere. Now, thank you for everything you give to the world, and keep on grooving, really. If people want to reach you, where can they?
Just hangmassive.com website, contact at hangmassive, email, Instagram, Facebook. We're very responsive everywhere. Yeah.
Wonderful. Please check them out.
Please come to the concert in Vienna next year. You're warmly welcome. Yeah.
Absolutely, I will. I definitely will. And to our listeners, please check them out. Hang Massive. It's really a very unique way of playing the hang, of playing music, of bringing you into the presence with their sounds. And if you like the podcast, then please go to poweroffrhythm.com/podcast. Let me know whom you want to hear next and to whom I should talk. And for now, wishing you a great time and keep on grooving.